Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction. All characters, places, and events depicted in this story are purely imaginary and created for entertainment purposes only. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The story contains elements of horror, suspense, and supernatural themes that may not be suitable for all audiences. Reader discretion is advised. It all started on a cold Friday night in late October. The kind of night when the wind whistles through tree branches like it's trying to whisper secrets. The five of us, Jess, Malik, Rachel, Danny, and me, had gathered in Jess's parents' lake house for what was supposed to be a chill weekend away from school, stress, and everything else. We had no idea how wrong we were. The house was old but cozy. Wooden floors creaked with every step, and the fireplace added a warm, flickering glow to the living room. Outside, the fog rolled in thick and heavy, swallowing the surrounding forest in gray. The perfect setting for a horror movie, or, in our case, the start of one. After hours of junk food, music, and mindless games, boredom settled in. That's when Rachel pulled out her phone, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "I found something weird," she said. "It's called the door game. Apparently, it's this ritual you do at midnight to summon a presence." Malik scoffed. "A presence? What does that even mean?" Rachel grinned. "They say if you play it right, something answers from the other side. But you're not supposed to open your eyes until it's over. If you do, bad things happen." Jess rolled her eyes. "This sounds like those creepypastas people post just to scare each other." "That's because it is one," Danny laughed, already opening another soda. But I noticed Rachel wasn't laughing. "I'm serious," she said. "People online say it's more than just a game. Some even claim it messed up their lives." There was a moment of silence. Just the crackling fire and the wind outside. Malik leaned back, smirking. "Okay, then let's play it. What's the worst that could happen?" I hesitated. My stomach had started to twist with unease. "I don't know, guys. Maybe we shouldn't mess with stuff like that." But Jess was already on her feet. "Come on. We're out in the middle of nowhere. It's spooky season, and we've got nothing better to do. Don't be a buzzkill. Peer pressure works fast when you're with friends. Even faster when you're trying not to look scared." "Fine," I said reluctantly. "But if something weird happens, I'm blaming all of you." We turned off all the lights except for a single candle in the center of the room. Rachel read the instructions from her phone. Each of us had to place a personal item in a circle drawn with salt. Then we had to sit in a specific formation, hold hands, and say a chant 3 times. As we placed our items, necklaces, rings, keys, something felt off. Like the room got colder the moment the last item hit the floor. Goosebumps crawled up my arms. We sat down, linked hands, and Rachel led the chant. "We open the door with minds unbound. We seek what's lost, we call what's found. Come to us through veil and night. Show us truth beyond our sight." 3 times. Each repetition echoed strangely in the room, like someone or something was repeating it back with us. We waited. Nothing happened. No flash of light. No sudden gust of wind. Just silence. "Well, that was anticlimactic," Malik said, letting go of our hands. "Guess the spirits had better things to do," Danny added. We laughed it off, blew out the candle, and started cleaning up. But as I picked up my necklace from the circle, I swear I saw the flame flicker back to life for just a second, without a match. I blinked. The candle was still out. Must have been my imagination, right? But that night, when we went to bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone in that house anymore. Something had heard us, and it was listening. The next morning felt off. The sun had come out, birds chirped, and everything seemed normal. But under that surface, there was a weird tension in the air. Like the house was pretending to be calm. We didn't talk much about the game over breakfast. I think most of us figured it was just a dumb late-night dare that fizzled out. But Rachel, she looked different. Distracted. Pale. She barely touched her food. "You okay?" I asked her when the others went outside. Rachel glanced at the window. "I didn't sleep last night. I kept hearing footsteps in the hallway. Like someone walking just outside my door. Back and forth. Back and forth. But no one was there. Probably just the house creaking," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's old." She didn't look convinced. "It wasn't creaking. It was deliberate." like it was pacing, like it was waiting. I didn't have an answer for that. Later that afternoon, while we were lounging in the living room, Rachel pulled out her phone again. "There's more," she said. Jess groaned. "More what?" "More to the ritual. Last night was just the invitation. If we really want to see past the veil, we have to finish it." "Why would we want to do that?" Danny asked. "Didn't we already try and fail?" Rachel looked serious. "I think we started something but didn't finish it. What if leaving it open is worse than closing it properly?" That got our attention. "What do you mean, open?" Malik asked. Rachel turned the screen to show us the page. The door game is actually a multi-part ritual. The first chant invites a presence. But if you don't complete the next steps within 24 hours, it stays. I frowned. "Stays how?" Rachel didn't answer. She just scrolled down and read aloud. "The presence will cling to the invitation. It will not leave on its own. The host becomes the vessel unless the door is properly closed." "What the hell does that mean?" Jess asked, her voice low. "I think it means one of us is now a host," Rachel whispered. "And if we don't finish it, something bad will happen." The room went dead quiet. Eventually, Danny spoke up. "So what do we have to do to close it?" Rachel hesitated. "We need to do the second ritual. Tonight. At midnight. We have to draw a new circle, use the same objects, and ask it to show itself. There's a chant, and we can't break the circle no matter what happens." "What happens if we do?" I asked. She paused again. "Then the invitation becomes permanent." Malik stood up. "Okay, this is getting way too intense. We should just leave? Go back to campus, forget this ever happened." "And if Rachel's right?" I asked. "What if we're already marked?" Jess exhaled sharply. "Let's just finish the stupid ritual and be done with it." That night, we moved the coffee table aside and cleared the living room floor again. The mood was different this time, no laughing, no teasing. Just silent fear. We followed the instructions exactly. Salt circle. Candle in the center. Same 5 personal objects. Lights off. Doors locked. Each of us sat at a point of the circle, hands joined again. Rachel held her phone with the chant typed out, her voice shaking as she read it. "We open the door, now we see what waits beyond the veil and key. Come forth and make your presence known, but leave no harm upon this home." 3 times. The wind howled outside like it hurt us. The candle flickered wildly, though no windows were open. And then we heard it. A soft knock. Not at the door. Inside the room. Just behind Jess. She gasped but didn't move. We all froze. No one spoke. The knock came again, closer this time. Then slow, dragging footsteps circled behind us. We weren't alone anymore. "Don't break the circle," Rachel whispered, her eyes squeezed shut. "No matter what." But that was easier said than done. Because whatever we had invited, it had just entered the room. We sat there, frozen in that circle, the candle trembling in the middle like it was terrified too. The air had turned ice cold, heavy with something unseen but undeniably present. Every breath felt thick, like we were inhaling fog. No one dared speak. We all heard the footsteps. Slow, dragging, like something was walking barefoot across the wooden floor. It moved around the circle, not in a straight line, but weaving like it was inspecting us. Testing the boundaries. Then it stopped behind me. I could feel it. Not see it, but feel it. A deep pressure, like a weight pressed against the back of my neck. The hairs on my arms stood up. My fingers twitched, but I clutched Jess's hand tighter. "Don't break the circle." That was the rule. That was the only thing keeping us safe. The candlelight dimmed for just a second, just long enough for all of us to notice. Then silence. Nothing moved. No more footsteps. No more knocks. Just stillness. Finally, Rachel whispered, "We close the door now." She read the final chant, this time steady, deliberate. "As you were called, now we release, return beyond, let all things cease. From this place you now depart. Take no mind, take no heart." As the last word left her mouth, the candle went out. Total darkness. Jess let out a soft gasp, and someone fumbled for a phone flashlight. When the light came on, we looked at each other, pale-faced, eyes wide, but alive. Still human. And the salt circle? Undisturbed. Whatever it was, it hadn't crossed over. We thought we had done it. Closed the door. Ended it. We were wrong. The next morning was quiet, but the kind of quiet that makes you nervous. No birds. No wind. Just a dead stillness outside. like nature was holding its breath. We tried to go about our day like everything was fine, but little things started to feel off. Jess found her personal item, the silver ring she'd used in the circle, back on the living room floor even though we had packed everything away. Danny's phone wouldn't stop glitching. It kept turning on by itself, screen flashing static and brief glimpses of something. A shadow. A figure in the background of photos that wasn't there when he took them. Malik said he heard someone whisper his name when he was in the shower. I thought it was one of you messing with me, he said, but I looked. No one was there. Rachel was the most affected. She barely spoke. When she did, it was short, flat sentences. That light in her eyes, the curiosity that led her to the game in the first place, it was gone. I tried talking to her privately. You okay? She looked at me, her eyes hollow. It didn't leave. What? It's still here, she whispered. We didn't send it away. We just woke it up. Later that night, something happened that none of us could explain. Danny went to the kitchen to get a drink. Less than a minute later, we heard him scream. We ran in and found him on the floor, shaking, staring at the fridge door. There was someone behind me, he gasped. In the reflection, standing right behind me. But when I turned around, nothing. We checked every room, every door. Nothing. That's when we realized the real game had begun. It wasn't just haunting the house. It was following us, watching us, testing us. And worst of all, none of us knew who it had marked. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, every creak of the house making my heart race. At 3:17 a.m., I heard it. A knock on my bedroom door. Soft, precise. 3 taps. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Then I heard it whisper. My name. Twice. It sounded like Rachel's voice, but I knew she was asleep in the next room. I had seen her go to bed. I stayed silent, clutching my blanket, praying it would go away. It did. But before it left, it laughed. Quiet. Low. Mocking. That was the moment I knew we had invited something in. And now it was choosing who to take first. The days that followed felt like we were living in a slow, creeping nightmare. Whatever we had summoned wasn't just lurking anymore, it was getting bolder. Stronger. And it didn't hide in shadows for long. The first real incident happened with Malik. He had always been the skeptic, the one who laughed it all off. But 2 nights after the ritual, something broke that in him. We were sitting around the kitchen table trying to distract ourselves with cards and small talk when he suddenly froze mid-laugh, eyes fixed on something behind me. I turned, but nothing was there. Did you see that? He whispered. See what? I asked. He stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly against the tiles. There was someone standing right there. I swear to God. Black figure, no face. It was just watching us. We checked the whole house again, room by room. Nothing. As usual. But that wasn't the last time Malik saw it. The next day, he refused to leave his room. Kept muttering to himself, keeping the lights on even during the day. We tried getting him to talk, but every time we asked, he just shook his head. The only thing he said was, it's following me now. It knows I didn't believe. That's why it's showing itself to me. Just started having nightmares. She woke up screaming, drenched in sweat, convinced she was being suffocated. Said something was sitting on her chest while she slept, whispering in her ear in a language she didn't understand. We found her the next morning with long, thin scratches down her arms. I didn't do this to myself, she said, crying. I swear. I didn't. We believed her. Because we were all breaking, piece by piece. Even Danny, who tried so hard to act tough, began avoiding mirrors. He said every time he looked into one, he saw the same figure. Closer than before. Not just in reflections now, he said he felt it brushing past him when the lights were off. One night he asked me, do you think it can get inside? Like possess someone? I didn't answer. Because deep down I was wondering the same thing. Rachel, however, was the worst. She barely spoke at all anymore. Just sat in silence, staring at corners of the room no one else dared look at. She didn't eat. Didn't sleep. And then, one night, she said something that chilled all of us. I saw its face. We turned to her, startled. What do you mean? In my dream, she whispered. It let me see it. It's not human. It doesn't even pretend to be. It only wears our faces like masks. But its real face, it's nothing we have words for. Like looking into a black hole with teeth. We begged her to stop. But she kept going. It said I was the one who opened the door. So I'm the one it will keep. Unless someone else takes my place. After that, we started locking our doors at night. Not that it helped. Strange noises. Scratching. Whispering. Footsteps kept happening. Lights flickered on and off. Phones turned on by themselves. Screens glitching with symbols we didn't recognize. Jess's phone even recorded a voice during the night. A raspy whisper saying, "Not enough. One must stay." That's when we realized something terrifying. The ritual hadn't been just a game. It was a contract. And now it wanted payment. One morning, we found a message burned into the living room wall. We hadn't heard anything, but it was there. Like the wood itself had been scorched. "The door is open. One goes. For stay." We stared at it in silence. 5 of us had started the game. Only one could leave. Panic set in fast. We started arguing, accusing each other. Who messed up the ritual? Who opened their eyes? Who invited it? It didn't matter, because the rules were already written. The game had begun the moment we said the first chant, and now one of us had to pay the price. The message on the wall stayed there all day, burned into the wood like it had always been part of the house. "The door is open. One goes. For stay." At first, we thought it meant only one of us could escape the haunting. But the more we looked at it, the more it felt like a warning not all of us were meant to survive. The next day, the rules started changing. We woke up to find every mirror in the house covered in black handprints. Not painted, not smudged. Burned into the glass like acid had etched them from the inside. Danny tried to break one of them with a chair, but the glass wouldn't shatter. It just bent like something alive was behind it, pushing back. Later that day, Rachel said something strange. "It's rewriting the game." "What?" I asked. She stared at her notebook. "The website I found. The ritual page. It's different now." We crowded around her phone. She showed us the site. Same name, same header, but the rules had changed. Once the invitation is made, the game continues until balance is restored. Each fear feeds the guest. The weakest link will open the final door. Jess pulled back. "What does that even mean?" "It means it's adapting," Rachel whispered, "feeding off us, changing the rules to trap us longer." That evening, something happened to Malik. We found him locked in the bathroom, muttering under his breath, drawing symbols on the wall with a piece of broken tile. When we finally got the door open, he turned to us slowly, his eyes wide and blank. "It's not outside anymore," he said. "It's in the walls." He collapsed after that. We carried him to the couch. He kept whispering something over and over. "The shadows are doors. The shadows are doors. The shadows are," until he passed out. We didn't sleep that night. Not properly. Everyone stayed in the living room, lights on, backs against the walls. We didn't even speak. Just listened. The whispers were constant now. No longer soft. No longer subtle. They spoke names. Our names. One by one. At 3:33 a.m., Jess screamed. We turned to see her standing, pointing at the far wall. "There's something inside it," she yelled. "Right there. It's watching us." The wall, it shifted, like something was pushing out from behind the drywall. Fingers, a face, not formed completely, just impressions in the material. The light flickered again, and the shape faded like mist. Danny ran to grab salt and candles again, trying to recreate the circle. But this time, the salt didn't work. Scattered, like wind blew it from inside the house. "We can't trap it anymore," Rachel said. "It's already here. We didn't close the door. We just let it in and left it open." Jess was shaking now. "So what do we do?" Rachel stood slowly, and for the first time she looked calm. Too calm. "One of us has to finish the game." That's when we saw what she was holding, the original paper, the one from the ritual. But there were extra lines on it now written in something dark. Something that didn't look like ink. Rachel read it out loud. "The door will close with sacrifice. Willing or taken, it must be done. Choose the one, or lose all." Danny stared in disbelief. "That wasn't there before." "It is now," Rachel said. "The rules changed. One of us has to go, or it takes us all." Nobody said anything, because the truth was unbearable. We had started a game we didn't understand. Now it was making its own rules. And the worst part? We had no way of knowing who it would choose. Or when. That night, the house didn't feel like a house anymore. It felt like a maze. Every hallway longer than before. Every corner darker than it should have been. Rooms didn't look the same. Doors appeared where they hadn't been the day before. Some of them were open. Some of them were closed and whispering. We stayed together as best we could, but the house had its own plans. At some point, the lights flickered off again. When they came back on, Rachel was gone. Just gone. No sound. No scream. Nothing. Only her personal object, the old bracelet she had used in the ritual, was left on the floor in the exact center of the living room. And burned into the wall above it were 5 words: "The door takes its turn." We stared at the spot where Rachel had vanished. Her bracelet lay there, untouched. Clean. Polished. As if it had never been worn. The burned message above it still glowed faintly on the wall. The door takes its turn. None of us spoke. Because what could we say? She was just gone. No footsteps. No scream. No trace. 1 second she was beside us and the next she had been taken. Jess dropped to her knees and picked up the bracelet, her hands trembling. She was right, she whispered. She knew it was coming for her. Danny backed into the corner, breathing heavily. We should have left. We should have gotten out that first night. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. It wasn't about leaving anymore. We could have walked out the door, sure, but the thing would follow. The house wasn't the prison. We were. The next morning we tried to leave anyway. We packed bags, unlocked the front door, and stepped outside into the driveway. And that's when we saw it. The woods around the house had changed. What used to be open country and narrow roads was now dense, black forest. Endless trees in every direction, swallowing light. Danny stepped forward and tossed a rock into the woods. It disappeared. Not fell, vanished. Like the space ahead of us was nothing but a painted wall of illusion and the rock had broken through. Jess screamed when she looked back at the house. It's not the same. She was right. The windows were all black now. Completely opaque. The wood darker. The structure somehow taller, leaning like it was bending in on itself. It wasn't just a haunted house anymore. It was a living thing. A creature with walls and bones and a door for a mouth. And we had fed it. We went back inside. We had no choice. Malik hadn't said a word since Rachel disappeared. He just sat in the same spot on the couch, whispering her name. Over and over. Jess tried to talk to him. We're going to get out. Okay? We just have to figure out how. He didn't respond. Just kept whispering. That night, I dreamt I was walking through the house, but it wasn't the house anymore. The walls were breathing. The doors opened and closed on their own. I passed mirrors that reflected things I'd never done. Smiling while holding a match over something burning, watching someone drown without helping. And at the end of the hallway, I saw Rachel, standing still, head down. I reached out to touch her, but before I could, she looked up. Her eyes were black voids. Her mouth unhinged, wide and smiling, too wide to be human. She leaned forward and said, "It wants another." I woke up gasping for air. My nose was bleeding. So was Jess's. Danny had vanished. We found his phone in the kitchen, recording. When we played the video back, the footage showed him walking into the living room, turning around slowly and staring straight into the camera. Then the lights flickered and something tall and crooked appeared behind him. No face. No features. Just black. The screen cut to static, then silence. We stared at the final frame frozen on the phone, a glimpse of Danny's face, eyes wide, mouth half open, just before he disappeared. The house had taken another. We tried to hold it together, but it was breaking us. 2 gone. 3 left. Jess. Malik. Me. Jess asked me, "Do you think if one of us gave ourselves, it would stop?" I shook my head. It doesn't want one. It wants the game to keep going. But the message, she said. One goes. First stay. Then maybe that was a lie, I said. Or maybe it wants us to believe we have a choice. That night, I stayed awake while Jess and Malik slept. I sat in the living room staring at the fireplace. The flame flickered, then suddenly flared blue. And I saw it. Just for a second, standing on the staircase. Tall. Hollow. Limbs too long. Skin stretched tight like paper. Watching me. Waiting. I didn't move. It didn't either. Then, slowly, it turned and walked down the hall, disappearing into the darkness where Rachel and Danny had once stood. When I woke up the next morning, Malik was gone. No sounds. No movement. No trace. Jess was in the corner, curled up, staring at the wall. On it was another message, burned into the wood, "One left to decide." By now, the house was unrecognizable. The furniture, the walls, the very layout, it all shifted subtly, like it was breathing or dreaming around us. Doors no longer led where they should. Time passed strangely. The sun never truly rose, only a dull gray haze that pressed against the windows like a warning not to look out. Only Jess and I remained. And we both knew it wouldn't be for long. That morning, we found Malik's phone, screen shattered, camera still rolling. The footage was short, just 14 seconds. It showed him standing at the foot of the basement stairs, muttering to himself. Then a whisper filled the audio, impossibly close to the mic. The final door opens with choice. The video ended with a scream that wasn't his. A scream that didn't even sound human. Jess was slowly falling apart. She wouldn't eat, barely spoke. Her skin looked pale, her eyes hollow. I tried to comfort her, but every time I touched her shoulder or arm, she flinched like something else had already been there first. We talked only when necessary. What does it want from us? She asked quietly that afternoon. I think it wants us to make the final decision, I said. Not just let it take someone, but choose. Her voice cracked. Like a sacrifice. Yes. She nodded. So that's the game. Not just fear, but guilt. That night, the house gave us a sign. A door appeared in the hallway where there had never been one before. It wasn't like the others. This one was old, rotting wood, metal bolts, and strange carvings that seemed to writhe when we looked too long. On the center of the door, written in blood-red symbols, were 5 names: Rachel, Danny, Malik, Jess, me. Only 2 names were still glowing, Jess and mine. The message carved beneath them read, "Only one may close the door." Jess stared at it for a long time. Then she turned to me and said, "I think it should be me." I froze. "What?" "I'm tired," she said. "And I think I let my fear feed it more than anyone. I opened my eyes during the ritual. I thought it was a joke. That's why it came." "No," I said, stepping toward her. "We all played. It doesn't matter who opened their eyes. It was always going to find a way in. But someone has to end it," she said. She looked at the door again. Maybe if one of us goes through willingly, it'll stop. Like a trade. Or maybe it's a trap," I said. "Maybe," she said. "But we don't have another way." We spent hours sitting on the floor in silence, side by side. The last 2 survivors of a game we never should have started. I thought about all the things I wanted to say about fear, regret, forgiveness, but nothing came out right. Eventually, Jess stood up and walked toward the door. I followed her. "Wait," I said. "If you go, what happens to me?" She gave a sad smile. "Maybe it lets you live. Maybe it lets you leave. Or maybe you end up like me." Then she took her bracelet, the same one she had offered during the ritual, and placed it on the floor before the door. It glowed faintly. The door creaked open on its own. Blackness spilled out. Cold. Wet. Endless. Jess turned to me one last time. "If you get out, don't forget us." Then she stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind her. Silence. No wind. No whispers. No movement. Then, slowly, the carvings on the door faded. And so did the door itself. Like it had never been there. I stood in the hallway alone. Completely and utterly alone. For a long time, I waited. Nothing happened. No new messages. No screams. No shadows creeping from the corners. I walked to the front door, half expecting it to vanish when I reached it. But it didn't. I opened it. And this time, the world outside was real. The woods were gone. The road was back. Birds were singing. I stepped outside. The sun finally rose. But I didn't feel relief. I felt hollow. Because I had survived, yes. But at what cost? 3 friends taken. One sacrificed herself so I could walk away. And the worst part? The guilt didn't leave with the haunting. It stayed. Like a shadow in my chest. Like a voice whispering at the edge of sleep, "You chose." It's been 4 months since I walked out of that house. 4 months since the ritual. Since the game. Since I lost all of them, Rachel, Danny, Malik. Jess. I should feel lucky. Blessed even. I'm the one who made it out. The one who lived. But what no one tells you is that surviving doesn't mean escaping. Some doors, once open, never really close. The police never found anything inside the house. I went back with them 2 days after I left. The place looked completely normal. Furniture untouched. Lights working. No blood. No messages burned into the walls. No hidden door where we had seen it. Not even a trace of the ritual supplies. The basement was sealed off. Cemented. As if no one had opened it in years. They looked at me like I was lying. Or sick. I was released under observation but never charged. How could they charge me? There was no evidence anyone else had even been there. Only one set of footprints. Mine. My parents tried to help at first. Therapists. Group sessions. Books on grief and trauma. But nothing touched what I had been through. How do you explain to someone that you invited something in? That you played a game and lost your friends because you didn't take it seriously? That you heard whispers in your sleep and watched walls breathe? Eventually, they stopped asking questions. I stopped answering. I moved far away. Changed my phone number. Deleted all my accounts. Started over. But it's still with me. The feeling. Like something is always watching. Like I'm still being judged. Some nights I hear tapping on my window. I live on the 3rd floor. Sometimes I dream of that final hallway, the one where Jess turned to me, smiled, and walked into the darkness. I wake up crying. Sometimes screaming. Worse, sometimes I wake up with something in my hand, an object I haven't seen in years. Rachel's notebook. Danny's lighter. Malik's watch. Jess's bracelet. And by morning, they're gone again. Last week, I saw a familiar website. Same black background. Same old pixelated title, The Door Game, invite to play, but the rules were different again. Simpler. Colder. The survivor must pass it on. A game must always continue. Choose the next players. Or return. I stared at it for a long time. And for a moment, just one awful moment, I thought about it. What if I gave this to someone else? Someone online. Random strangers. Let them open the door. Let them carry it. Maybe then it would leave me alone. But I couldn't do it. I closed the laptop and smashed it with a hammer. Then I burned the pieces. But 2 nights ago, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, no one was there. Only a single sheet of paper folded in half. I picked it up. Inside were 5 empty lines. Each labeled, name, object, fear. Just like the ritual we did. At the bottom, a message was scrawled in red ink. The game never ends. It waits for your decision. So I'm writing this now. As a warning. Or maybe a confession. We thought it was just a game. Something spooky to pass the night. But it was real. And once something comes in, it never really leaves. So if you ever find the site, if you ever see a game that asks you to list your name, your fear, and something personal, don't. Close the browser. Delete the file. Burn the paper. Because once you start, the only way out is through. And you might not make it, but someone will. And they'll be left with the choice I made. The choice I have to live with every single day. To survive, you must let it in.